accountability. There are many policy issues that I'll walk to you and Chairman, sir, and I'm sure I can use the word today. There was a day they said, one tunnel, it's been bought. So I walked to you and said, I told the honorable Chairman, sir, that no, some decisions I'm guided by the good of our country and the future of our country. And that I take those decisions taking responsibility. Indeed, I told the Honorable Suhine that when President Mahama begin constituting government, I'll be appreciated as former minority leader. Even the engineering you are doing here, people appreciate a Haruna Idrisu. There were some decisions that you are guided collectively by the party, and then we take a decision. But as I said, I have never ever regretted being changed as minority leader. I don't carry guilt in my heart. I've had my opportunity. I went out there to campaign and work for the NDC because I was convinced that in terms of the management of the economy, I wasn't satisfied with how the MPP had managed the country and its governance. So I don't carry guilt in my heart. I had a rare opportunity to serve, probably the first in my part of the world, if not the first in my country. And those who know me, there is a Quranic verse that I share with my mother, Aman Rasul. God does not give you a burden you cannot carry. So I'm sure at that time, God wanted a certain burden off my head. Which burden was that don't be minority leader, be MP for Tamale South. I keep telling my colleagues that my greatest asset is the preservation of Tamale South. And therefore, I thank the chiefs behind me and the people of Tamale South for giving me religious trust.
In the corporate world, time is everything. With M-Ticket, booking your bus ticket is as easy as dialing *265#. Just select your destination, approve payment, and you're ready to go.
There's no car from the terminal.
Terminal why this time? Haven't you heard of M-Ticket?
M-Ticket.
Okay, hold on, let me sort you out.
M-Ticket makes home trip easy anytime, anywhere. For traders, every minute matters. M-Ticket lets you book in seconds, keep it your business.
M-Ticket.
From individual trips to group travel, M-Ticket makes booking fast, easy, and stress-free. Dial *265# today.
Sometimes you believe you're carrying just enough cash to see your doctor until it's time to pay the bill. You find out to your embarrassment that carrying just enough isn't quite enough. Carry a nationwide medical insurance card. Now that's quite enough.
Your health is worth protecting.
Call us on 0800-222222 or visit www.nationwidemh.com. Nationwide Medical Insurance. Join the healthcare family.
Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Doc, good morning. Thank you for your time. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Good to hear from you one more time.
Yes, thank you.
Now, I'm sure you've been monitoring the vetting process in Parliament, and you have a lot of workings to do with our Parliament in Ghana and across Africa and the rest of the world. What runs through your mind when you see these things happening, as you saw them yesterday and the previously?
Johnny, I think yesterday in particular, and then reflecting on what happened last week, I saw a process of exacting accountability from nominees gone completely wrong. I saw a unique and a golden opportunity, particularly for the minority leader, to lead the charge on ensuring that, the nominee, the first one, particularly that they had, would, respond to issues that would all aim towards ensuring that, we can all be rest assured that he is a person who will be accountable for the power and the resources that will be handed over to him. Because at the end of the day, this vetting that happens of these nominees is all aimed at just one simple thing. Just ensuring that these people will be people who will be accountable, people who have integrity, which is, I believe, the most important ingredient that we need in our country today. Because as for the knowledge, I believe almost everybody has knowledge. But, are these people that we can trust?
Right.
And so when you get the opportunity, especially the first strike, I think you want to give Ghanaians a very good level of assurance that as a minority, you are really serious at ensuring that you are going to hold the government and people who are duty bearers in this country accountable. But what we saw was a spectacle, but there's a lot of engagement in issues that are trivial and issues that have no bearing on what was on the table. And then I also saw, just like the previous week, a chairperson and a deputy speaker who was pushed to the limit, to the extent that he was almost losing his temperament. I don't think that this is what we want to see in an appointments committee, because it gives an impression that this is divided again along partisan lines, NDC versus MPP. We want to see Ghana at play here. We want to see our members of parliament united. We want to see them work together before they come to the full glare of the public and have an agreement, as I have said many, many times before, in terms of who asks what questions. Leave the NDC and MPP politics aside. But we don't see that unity. As soon as nominees show up, and we just see party colors.
Sunrise on 3 FM.
And,
the best in the morning.
And I don't think the committee is giving real purpose to its mandate.
Right.
I think they need to up their game a little bit.
There were portions of the MP for Tamale South, Haruna Idrisu, who's now Minister Designate for the Education Ministry. Hopefully he gets approved to go to the ministry. Something he said about his time as minority leader and the fact that people thought that he had been bought, but he had to take certain decisions in the interest of the country. Do you get a sense that that conversation is still around the table as opposed to the partisan nature that we see being shown clearly on television and radio?
Johnny, I don't understand your question very well.
So I'm saying that he at some point said that, look, there were decisions that he took that his own party people thought that he had been bought by the other side. That nationalistic viewpoint, do you glean from the questions that are being asked around the table that we are looking at a nationalistic view, not just partisan political views that will say, okay, let's find him and pin him, not just one, but all the nominees who have faced the committee?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I can see first of all a lot of what would I say, equalization, a lot of effort to find faults, and rather than maybe focus on what is, in the national interest. And then secondly, I could also see, as many have said, that the committee was very friendly to Honorable Haruna. Either maybe because they didn't have any questions for him, which I believe might not be the case, because the education sector is the biggest sector in our country, and the free SHS, we know, has been the kind of big talk of our country in the last 8 years. So it will be very difficult to say there aren't real issues in that sector. I could see a lot of kind of even from the NPP side, kids' gloves, if I can describe it that way, in terms of how they dealt with Honorable Haruna. Not that I believe he couldn't answer any questions that were thrown at him, but it was. I mean, it's not supposed to be antagonistic, but it was also kind of too friendly to the extent that I don't think that we got very much from the kind of vetting that they did to that nominee.
Right. Okay. I thank you very much indeed, Doc, for your time. We're grateful. Dr. Rashid Draman is with SEPA, and he joined us here to share some thoughts with us. Doc, we're grateful. And connect with Jonathan Asante-Otri. He is also a senior lecturer at the UCC. Connect with us. Try and connect the dots. It has appeared to me that the names that have appeared before the appointments committee, they all go through, giving the way and manner in which the conversations have happened. Time will tell. We'll wait.
The best in the morning is on 92.
At the time of the transitions work ended, definitely there were additions of IPCs, entry payment certificates, that were locked at the various ministries and agencies and departments of the Ministry of Works and Housing. So automatically, that money is not the same to definitely go up. As been said, our simple expectation from the minister, number one, for him to look for money and pay us, the contractors, that's the inherited debt that he came to meet. He must try as much as possible to find ways of clearing that particular debt portfolio for us, in as much as we want to support him to achieve his targets through government policy in the road infrastructure development agenda. We are ever ready, and we also want to assure him that
Sunrise on 3FM.
We are just a feet away from him, 24/7, waiting to support his cause, no matter how it may.
Debts owed to contractors. Yesterday, that was made bare by Governor Kwame Agboja, who is the Member of Parliament for the Adaklu constituency. He's also heading straight to the Roads and Highways Ministry if Parliament grants him that favor. But Dr. Jonathan Asante-Otri is joining us on the phone line. He's a senior lecturer at the UCC. Also, does some work with the University of Ghana. Doc, thank you very much indeed for your time. Good morning.
Good morning, Johnny.
Have you been satisfied with the way our ministers designate have been vetted so far?
I think so. Let me say good morning to your good self and to your listeners. I think that the president has been very skillful in the kind of ministers that he's chosen. He seems to have a particular philosophy in mind, and he seems to know what he really wants to achieve with the kind of choices that is made, and that is being displayed. You can see, at the various versions that we have watched so far.
Now, if you look at the accountability conversation and trying to get the best out of them to understand the vision that they carry with them to the ministries, did they tick that box for you as well?
Pardon me?
The vision that the ministers are supposed to have to take to the ministry, did they tick those boxes for you in terms of answering the questions and the questions that came to them?
Yes. You could see that in the case of, for example, Roads and Highways, Mr. Kwame, Government Agboja, it displays, depth of knowledge in that particular area. It doesn't demonstrate any kind of arrogance. It shows that he knows his stuff. And obviously, in the issue of accountability, for example, it makes us understand and appreciate the fact that, look, when we find ourselves as a nation in terms of contract, indebtedness, inflation,
Hello, Doc. Doc, you have to please position yourself well so we can hear you.
There's supposed to be that broad conversation that will have to take place between all stakeholders. And that in itself is supposed to create an atmosphere where there is going to be a win-win situation. Now, there is also this accountability that is talked about in terms of those who provide consultancy. Now, it appears that we seem always to focus more on politicians than bureaucrats and technocrats. And so in conversation that he brings on board in terms of his version, it makes us appreciate the fact that, look, consultants must equally be held accountable. And he proposed this plan that should either indemnify or be responsible. And that in itself will mean that if the contractors do not do a top-notch job in terms of the execution of the contract, if they are not able to do so, then obviously the consultant will be hesitant, right, in signing that kind of certificate that's supposed to lead to the contractors getting their money. That in itself will create another accountability, another level of accountability. That is, the contractor will not be forced
to
call for certain monetary considerations in the process of securing the contract and executing the contract. That contractor will be very much moderate in the kind of lobbying that he does and the money that he loses along the line. Because in all of this, they will factor that in the execution of the contract. No businessman in his right sense will want to execute a business and make losses. So, in whichever form, they will want to make profit. But if you give all your money in terms of this 10% thing that they talk about, right, in the political domain, then obviously you're going to give us a steady job. Here is the case, the consultant hands is tied behind him. Therefore, he will not easily clear you as the work being done properly. And if the work has not been done properly, obviously the consultant will not clear. And that will go back to the contractor. So I think, in effect, it will bring some kind of accountability in the value chain.
I see. Now, in terms of the nominations so far, is President Mahama, again, I'll ask you, ticking the right boxes with the resources he's putting at these places?
Yes. In actual fact, I think on the same platform, I had concern for the education minister, that is Mr. Haruna, and I readily gave my reservation. Now, and I also qualified it by suggesting that the Mr. Haruna that I know him close and afar is someone who is very astute, because my interaction with him when I was a union executive, as Utah Union executive in those years, and then he was then the Minister for Labor Relations and Employment. Fantastic personality. It will create the atmosphere for us to have, a sit-a-sit, at which we will leave not in that antagonistic fashion, but in a conviviality and a cordial, kind of fashion. Now, the answers, the responses that he gave made me like I was right in the kind of impression I've always had about him. He went out there, that deep, found out the challenges of the education ministry. Obviously, he might have consulted Mr. Kofi Asare, to get the data, and those are the brief responses that he gave. So what is left for the president is to get the technocrat to assist him. And I tell you what, Mr. Haruna, I think that the president, in his own wisdom, decided to send Haruna there. Why? Because he is not ready to send someone who is rigid in an educational sector that is always turbulent. Because day in, day out, you'll be seeing strikes here and there. Because the unions and their demands, are multifaceted. So you need someone who is very dynamic, who is not rigid, to occupy the ministerial position, and then add someone who is technocratically gifted in that area to support the substantive minister. That, for me, is probably what the president has in mind, and that is the more reason why he might have sent Haruna to that place. And that the dynamism of Mr. Haruna is what he demonstrated yesterday.
The inclusion of Nana Yajanto, a known CPP party person, she was one time chief scribe of the CPP party. Now she is going to the office of the president as a presidential staffer, along with Stan Dogbe and Joyce Bawa Muktari, Beatrice Anamfio, and a couple of others. What does that say to you? Is this the moving away from the winner takes all thing that we're seeing in reality, or what?
Well, Nana Yajantua, the kind of personality that she is, I think that the president does so as a way of readying himself to listen to different versions and different views, not people who are going to do praise singing. So having the personality like Nana Yajantua in his poll means that the president is ready to listen to others who will be critical of his government, who will be critical of the things that others will be doing, who will be critical of the advices that will be given him, right? And I think that to go to the extent of even having a professor as the secretary to cabinet, I think that the second coming of Mr. Mahama is something else. And he's demonstrating beyond measure that he's ready for this particular task that has been given him.
Now,
well, if you look at Mr. Tandobe, for example, he comes in with this, he's done really well for himself. He was, from afar, I always advise that he should not be seen in the front line, of Mr. Mahama's government in years past when Mr. Mahama lost the election, because the kinds of things that the media had about him was not good. And I tell you that, in my view, he was not supposed to be in the forefront. Now, after a period, you see that in terms of media relations, media operations, organization, management, and execution of the president, house. That was when he was the opposition leader, even before he became the opposition leader, and so on and so forth. Sandegbe and his team, they have done this management. So in terms of operations, you put someone there like Sandegbe as the deputy chief of staff, taking charge of operations. I think that the president really knows the reason why, he did so. Madam, Bampo, I mean, we all know,
right?
Yeah, having that experience as a former minister, gender, blah, blah, blah. I mean, in the past, can say that in terms of the family, this then has not been quite stable. But in terms of a professional career and professional execution of a mandate, it's been splendid. I mean, very honorable person, if you ask me. I think I've just met her once or twice at the program, and that was it. And I've not heard anything bad, about her. So that in itself is also a good choice.
I see. Doc, before I let you go...
And you see, finally, on the same issue,
right.
You see, what I see the philosophy at play is the fact that the president has surrounded himself with people with different expertise and experiences, and of certain age. There is a blend, right? There is a blend of the ages. Apart from that, you could see that those who are supposed to be on the field, the ministers, the CEOs, you see they seem to come with a certain age bracket. Now, within those age brackets, you could see that there is that kind of philosophy at play. He wants people who are on top of their brief, who, in terms of contemporaneousness, are ready and who know, what is at stake today. Some of the CEOs, some of them are very young, but they've been very vociferous out there he wants them to learn through the ropes. Others may have a different opinion about that, like maybe Sami Jemfi. But Sami Jemfi has demonstrated beyond measure, from the beginning. He's been very unblemished in his political and public career, though the public has been very short and brief. But this is a test that, along the line, we may have to measure whether he's up to it or not. But other than that, the likes of Eduji Tamaklo,
right.
I'm a fantastic personality.
Right.
He knows his law, he knows his stuff, he speaks passionately, and he knows what he's really, really about. You could see that in terms of the legal gymnastics that took place with respect to the NDC, the court, the EC, and other things, it was all over, very fantastic, and he speaks law. And I believe that he's really done well for himself. So that particular thing, he really, really does that. Others have asked me, for example, and probably I'll use your platform. With respect to Ghana Gas, I'll advise the president that in that case, the CEO must be from the West.
I see. Why?
The CEO must be from the West.
And why is that?
You could see that the project in terms of oil. Now, if you look at the architecture of the ministerial distribution so far, the only Westerner is Emiliata. The only Westerner is Emiliata. And it is not that everybody must be a minister. No.
Right.
And along the line, we also need to see that distribution. And there is something else that people are talking about. I don't want to talk about it now. I want to see the full architecture at display before we'll be able to analyze scientifically, not just merely hearsay. So the advocacy is coming from the West.
Okay.
That you see, you've given, is it GMPC? Dr. Randy Abe?
Yeah.
The GMPC?
Sunrise on 3FM. The best
and
in the
people feel that
morning.
the resources are coming, majority of resources are coming from the West. Why wouldn't you have put a Westerner there? Are you trying to tell the people of the West or even Central that there is nobody with that qualification to occupy that particular position? But the president is the appointer. And you know very well that you have the goodwill of the people. In the course of doing this appointment, you need to be very careful because in no time you wake up and the goodwill is gone.
Sunrise
because
on 3FM.
in the process of appointing, people will get disappointed.
Right.
And once that happens, when they don't have part of the carry,
right.
problems will begin to come up. So you cannot in any way overlook that suggestion that I've given. For example, I suggested that Mr. Eric Opoku ought to be the food and agriculture minister.
Right.
Listen to that. He gave him that because if he cannot succeed in that sector, then I don't see how that sector will prosper in this country.
I see.
Sunrise on
Dr. Jonathan Asante Autry, we're grateful that you spent your morning with us. Thank you so much.
I'm grateful, John.
Great.
Sunrise on 3FM. The best in the morning.